let's get situated here. We are going to play with these neons today and paint a kind of a Northern Lights feel. Okay, sorry, husband was talking to me. We are starting a huge cleanse, and so he's trying to shop for that. And the produce people were trying to help us out, but then they don't have enough of the stuff we need because we need a lot of stuff. But then I think they do have enough. So anyway, just wanted to make sure that he doesn't have an Apple, so he can't text me as he's shopping, which is kind of a bummer. Because I can't answer it on my iPad. Okay, so we're gonna try to keep this under 30 minutes. I'm gonna try to go fast here, fast-ish, because these are a very loose feeling kind of thing. You shouldn't need to spend hopefully a ton of time. Sometimes it takes a bit of finagling and a long ugly face to get through to where we need to be. But why don't we see here what we can do in 30, and worst case, we can stop and I can finish it up later, or I can see if I can go a little bit longer. I don't know that I can go too much longer than 30 today. These, do try to just straighten up my camera here. It kind of bothers me when it's off. Okay. Yeah, I don't like to go over on these too much. Then I get sucked into doing too much, and that happens pretty easily here. Okay, so I'm making sure that my paper is pretty well taped down, pressing on it again and again. I'm gonna spray my paper with water, and then I am going to take my neons. I'm gonna use different pinks than I used last night. I'm going to use a brush that I can kind of mush up, which just means nothing that I'm worried about ruining. So let me just take a brush that I'm gonna use my black velvet silver brush. This is half animal, which I don't love. And I've used this for years, since 2018, and it's beat up anyway. So I'm gonna use that as my brush. Use whatever you're comfortable with. So what I like to start with is my lightest color. So I'm gonna take some of this neon yellow, and I can list the names later. Right now, this is available as a set. So you can't get these separately right now. Perhaps they will in the future, maybe be separated. We will see. Hello, Laura. I had a feeling you were lurking there. I can't see who's here. So if you want to say hi, pop in and say hello. Otherwise, I won't know you here. So if you want to be incognito, you don't have to tell me you're here, and you can just be here secretly. So he's texting me and I can't text him. I can try to email him, worst case. It's really difficult when life happens at the same time as I'm trying to do this. So my apologies. Hello, Kathy. Hi. Let me just text my husband really fast here. No greens at Safeway. I told him everything already, but I don't think he remembers. We will need them. Okay, sorry. All right, let's see if that works. Hopefully that works. Okay, back to business. Hello, Americans. Okay, so what I'm doing is just getting some yellow on here. No rhyme or reason, just getting it on there. You'll see what happens. It just kind of all goes together. So now I'm going to take the neon green, and I'm going to just drop some in there. Again, no rhyme or reason for me. I'm just getting it on the paper, getting it mixed in with the yellow. You can leave some yellow spots, but you don't have to overly worry about that, because we can also drop in some more later. And you can drop in some as you go. So if you cover up some green spots, you're like, oh no, I wanted that bright yellow to be there. All I'm going to do is, oh, you know what's a bummer is I cannot see your messages. Oh yeah, I can right there. Okay, so let me actually, which one is your favorite pink? I don't know yet. Let me show you the swatch actually. Let me get better situated here. Okay. We're not doing the 30-day. After the 9-day one, we'll just cut out beep. He cursed. I don't know if you all cursing husbands, but I do. I try not to overly curse, but I do occasionally. Okay, so anyway, these are the pinks. I don't know which of the three. This is obviously more red. This starts going orange. Whoa, did you hear that? That's a really low flying plane. Woo! That was not comfortable. I would probably, this is the one I used last night in my, but I'll try one of these two. Maybe I'll try this one. I'll try this one today and see how I feel and see if, what I think. But this Payne's grayish color is definitely good. So I'm just going to use the neon blue, and I'm going to kind of fill in like a vignette almost. Vignette, whatever, vignette. Oh, is it coming for round 2? That is a low flyer. So that one's called, I think it's just plain neon blue. And I'm just going to kind of let them mix in. Maybe I'll drag some in, maybe I won't. It doesn't really matter at this point for this part. You're just kind of getting the paints on there. You're kind of getting the base down right, all the white covered. I don't leave white on these ones, so I'm gonna make sure that I get all the white covered. And maybe I'll drag some in there. It'll end up going in there anyway, so you don't really, like, right, that's super ugly. Okay, but that's the idea. You just wanna get the color on there. You can go back in with your green now if you wanted to and drop in some more. You could go back in with your yellow and grab some of that and mix it with the green or the blue. You can pull it every which way. You can do more blue if you want to at this time. At the top, I do like to add a good layer of blue at the top, and you'll see why in just a second. So just add a bunch of blue. You can splatter if you want to. If it accidentally splatters, that's okay too. No big deal. Okay, so let's see. We're just going to keep dropping that blue in there. Hello, Veronica. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so that's there. I don't know why I'm holding that palette. I guess it was just easier for the moment. Okay, so here comes the somewhat messy part. I used to never make a mess of these, but now I've gone a little more messier than I used to do. So I do like to use this smaller spray bottle. This is from Art of Miranda. It's just a little travel bottle. It has a finer mist of a spray, I feel. And so I have more control. If I use my bigger spray bottle, this one, it's much more, the spray is just a little more. And so I like to use a small one to see just slower movement, so I have a little bit more control. I mean, you don't have a lot of control when you're spraying water on your paper in the first, I mean, you do and you don't, right? It depends on how, I don't know if anybody, does anybody really use their water? Are you really picky about your water sprayer? I don't know. I'm not particularly picky with my water sprayer. I'm painting a Northern Lights, kind of a mythical sky here. So it's just playing with color and nothing super accurate or realistic, just kind of fun and playful. So that's kind of where we're going here. So now what I'm gonna do is take more blue and just slowly kind of put some more in there. I can also take some purple and maybe add some off to whatever side or wherever you want. You can drop some in the middle here. You can add some pink. I'm gonna use that third pink that we talked about. And right now it's just kind of just getting it in there. And it's really, it's okay that it's ugly at this time. And so this is still the first layer. And this is just getting the paint on the page layer. That's why this board is really important. You can hold it, you can tilt it, you can turn it upside down, you can wipe it really easily, keep your area clean. These boards are really handy. You can use a piece of cardboard if you prefer. You can use whatever you have around your house. You can use like those plastic cutting boards. I just really like this plexiglass. And you can start bringing your blue down a little bit more. You can keep it at an angle. You can go straight down. You can find reference photos and try to emulate what they're doing in their pictures, like the movement of the sky. Again, I'm not really super particular, so I'm not going to use a reference on these. I'm just going to kind of let it go and enjoy the kind of the free-for-all, the exploration. I'm going to spray it one more time, and I'm going to spray it from the side here and just kind of let those go, let this go. I am going to drop in a little bit more yellow because my yellow did kind of disappear on me. And you can drop it in anywhere you want to mix in a little bit more. Again, nothing, you don't have to be super picky or crazy on these, right? You're just trying to get those colors in for right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep wiping all 4 of my sides. The water tends to pool at the tape and it can kind of go back into your painting and make some weird lines. If those don't bother you, they don't really super bother me, to be honest. You don't really mind them. You can let them be if you prefer. And then once you get everything where you want it to be, you want to lay it flat. This isn't where I want it to be completely, but I am going to dry at this point, and then we're going to add some more. So I'm going to mute while I dry so that you don't have to listen to the sound of my dryer, and I'll be right back. Okay, so with these, you do want it to be dry, but it doesn't have to be super crazy dry like some things would have to be, because you're going to be adding more water and you don't need everything to stay exactly where it is. If this were something you wanted not much movement on this layer, then you would want to make sure it's 100% dry. It's about 90% dry, which is fine for me. I'm going to go ahead and spray it again with water. And I'm going to take my mop brush. I'm going to mix the blue and the darker blue black. And I'm just going to happen to use a palette I have already sitting here, had some paint in it. I'm not super overly worried. You can see how much I've already dug in these paints. The black did have a little bit of a like a ready-made divot ready for me to go. I think it was ready, Laura. I don't know why, but I don't know why all my blacks lately have been having little pockets. Are blacks different? Once you add the black, does it do something different to the paint? Like one, I can count right now in front of me, 1, 2, 3 of them, and they're not all yours. They're different makers. So I think it's just something with that pigment. I don't know. So the paint maker that made these paints, she was here, still here? Yes, she is. Oh no, it's sneaky. It doesn't really bother me. I was just like, oh, okay. Caught me off guard. It's like, oh, did I use this much? Because I did use a lot. I was digging in it last night. A lot. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going really thick. So again, I mixed this on the side. It's thick like thicker soy sauce. My dark colors get holes too. Yeah, it must be, Madeline, because okay. I'm glad I'm not alone though, because I thought it was like, is it just me? Like, I know it can't be just me because I haven't been using them that long. It's one thing if you've been using them for a while and you're like, oh, what did I do? Okay, so I didn't spray this enough, as you can see, which is fine because I'm going to take my spray and do it now. And all of a sudden, you'll see it'll start going. And you'll get lots of movement. And I'm going to soak pretty heavily. And at this point, I can see that my paint's going to cover up all my pretty colors, right? So you can kind of help guide. You can push things away. You can kind of help move things along where you want them, right? If I want maybe say more down here, there's not much going on. Let's see, I try to find those pockets. I smack them with the back of a palette knife between layers, but don't get by. Is it with the darker colors though? Because one of my other one, what is my other one? Where is it? It's not yours, it's just something else. I feel like they act differently. Okay, so sorry, back to this. I am just going to like this stuff is doing something fun down here, so I'm going to go ahead and go with it. I'm going to hold my board and move my board around until some paint does what I like what it's doing. And that's kind of what you want to do. You want to embrace whatever's happening, right? You can't control it as much as you might like to. And so you just have to kind of go with whatever's happening. And that's kind of the fun part of it. Yes, I'm starting to find that. Okay. So Laura has been making shimmers for a while, but Matt's, you're a little bit newer too, right? So it's fun to learn from makers what all the things are. I'm learning so much from the makers that I play with their paints and stuff, and it's really fun. Okay, so I'm starting to try to like, I have two weird separating things. I'm not really sure what's going on here. Maybe I drop a little bit more of yellow somewhere else to kind of add another dimension. Maybe I take my pink back and I take my pink back. Hey, that's a saying from somebody on Instagram. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, let me know. You might or might not. God, every new pigment teaches me something, which is awesome. And I love that. And I love when you share with me what you learn, because then I can pass it along and help explain. And when I first got, we were both like, wait, all these paints are sticking, like when we first got into handmaids, like all the papers would stick, right? We'd get Addison Carey paints or Addison and Sedgwick paints, and we'd be like, wait, why are they sticking? And then the paint maker just tells you, hey, stick in the freezer and it comes right off. And sure enough, it comes right off. Or use your brush and wash it right off and it comes right off. So the more you learn, the better you get. And it's so much better just when you learn. So if you have questions that you think might not be you think they're dumb questions, I'm not going to ask that. Please ask, because I can help, or I can find out for you, or any of those things. And we can learn together. And that's what I like. And that's what's fun. So if you're wondering why something does something, or why every time you get something, it probably is normal, and it's just part of what it is. And anyway, I just want you to know that all the questions, we all had them at one point in time. I had somebody ask me what granulating paints were, and that's great. I mean, if you don't know, you don't know, right? If you're new, you're not going to know these things. So at this point, I do like to take, I'm not going to use that big brush. I'm going to use a smaller brush, maybe a size 4 or size 6. I'm going to grab my size 4 here, and I'm going to go into my white. This isn't going to, yes, do ask if I don't know. I love to do the research. Same. I'm the same way. I like to find out too. Unfortunately, I don't always remember what I research, but I love digging in and finding out. And yeah, exactly. There's so much to learn, and it's so much fun because you can learn something every single day if you try. So anyway, I'm just really digging into this white right now. I'm trying not to add too much water. It's not going to make a huge difference. Again, I am going to wipe my brush because I tend to get splatters, because I rinse my brush pretty deeply in my water. So I tend to wipe everything off, right? So I don't want water splatters, but I do want a little bit of white splatters. And again, this probably won't make a big of a difference because it's going to bleed into what I already have. But sometimes it makes just enough difference that you can enjoy what's going on. Laura, what's in the white? Is the white just white watercolor pigment? Is it more of a gouache style white? I was curious and I didn't ask you, and I should ask, but you're here so I can ask you. Sorry if I'm rambling. I had a lot going on earlier, and so I was just kind of like, woo, no coffee. Okay, so you can see that's a big blob. That's okay. I'm just going to leave it. This paper is Balhong 100% cotton paper. It is the professional line, so you can see it's granulating a lot. The paint is granulating a lot and kind of has this like leather texture, if you will. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it has some sort of like, it kind of does a lot of the work for you, right? And a lot of people, well, not a lot, some people might not like this kind of paper. I know Madeline's not a huge fan of this paper. She likes the Academy, which I love too. I love that one too. And it's slightly smoother. You have no idea. I ordered all these together as a set. Not sure what, okay. Not sure what pigments are used. Okay, no worries. I was just wondering if it was going to act like a gouache or if it was going to be pretty light when it dries and it's going to be more like a white watercolor. So if you want something to stand out when this is all dry, I'll probably end up using Bleed Proof. It does a really good job of popping when it's done. And what are we in? 19 minutes? Oh, yes, we got 19 minutes. Okay. This isn't terrible. I thought it wasn't going to work, to be honest with you. So again, these go through an intense, ugly phase. You're like, holy, you know what, this might not work, right? Especially on the camera. And I'm going to keep it simple today. I'm not going to manipulate it much more. I'm going to let it be. Oh, some sellers are just not transparent. Yeah, I get it. And this was kind of a novelty pigment set. So I think this one you probably didn't know as much, I'm assuming, right? Because I know, like, when we were looking at the website earlier for pigments, I feel like that one was probably a little more legit-ish, I guess, if that's if it's a way to say that. So, yeah, anyway. And it's not a big deal. Sometimes it's just fun to play with different and new things, right? And Laura's really good about that and really fun about that. So there are different paint makers with different beliefs, and every paint maker has different ways of doing stuff, right? Some wouldn't do any of this neon stuff because they only do mattes. Laura does a little bit of everything, which is pretty darn cool. If you are interested in something super fun, she's doing a shimmer advent calendar this winter, and I'm taking names, and it's really affordable. 24 paints for the 24 days before for the holidays. If you don't do the holidays, it's just a fun countdown anyway. You could do it to New Year's, you could do it to whatever you want. It doesn't have to be a holiday thing. It just happens to have that traditional advent calendar feel to it, and I love that. So I do have a list going right now. I have it in front of me if you want me to add you. It's $125, and it's a really good price if you know anything about advents. It's super great. And yes, Laura has a problem with wanting to order all the colors. So I always say, okay, she's like, oh, what color do you, is this a good color, whatever. I'm like, do you have anything like it, like in your thing, because sometimes she often does. So today we were just talking about, do I have you down, Madeline? Yes, I do. I got you down. So again, I know I said I have you down. You're right underneath me. Okay, so this white, like I said, it's kind of dispersing, but not terribly, right? You can still see it. At this point, if you wanted to add more white, we could add more white. And hello, we can add more white, and then I'm gonna dry my paintbrush off so I don't get whites. You could splatter water in here. Whoa, that was a lot. That's okay. Okay, let's dry this quickly so we can get on with our whatever we add to the background. All right, so I am debating on spraying it one more time and going a little bit darker. I think I kind of want to do that, so I am going to do that. And I'm going to spray my paper one more time, which doesn't leave me a lot of time for trees, but I feel that it needs it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Payne's light color, and I'm going to put it in my palette, and I'm going to put a little bit of water in there. I'm going to only use a little bit of blue so that it's just not as light, right? Okay, and so I'm going to go right back in here, darken up the corners, and give it just a little bit more. And it might be like, no, don't do that, and that's okay. Sometimes these just need something and you don't know what, and sometimes they don't, but you can kind of just keep smudging in a little bit here and there. And the darkness, the one good thing about adding more dark is it really helps the light to pop, right? I still have that weird white thing there. I don't know if I'm gonna leave it or not. I might leave it and see what it ends up doing. So I'm gonna just color in. I'm gonna paint in, okay? And it might be a little dark. That's okay too. Maybe we'll just kind of bring down a little bit there. And maybe if I went a little low, all I have to do is maybe pick up a little bit of paint here, right? And then you can just kind of drag your brush if you don't like the shape you have, right? If you're like, oh wait, I want it to kind of look wispier, you can just take your wet brush, because that paint is underneath those layers, right? You have freedom, a little bit of like wiggle room to kind of manipulate your shapes a little bit, right? So you can play with that because it's underneath and you don't just have like white paper under there because we did all the layers. Okay, and so then, oh good, you like it darker? Okay, me too. I was like, oh no, they just said they liked it. Now they're gonna be like, no, don't do that, Amber. That looks terrible. Should I get rid of that white dot or just leave it and let it be part of whatever it is? Okay, and also if you wanted to, if you really were like, oh, she lost all the yellow, you could drop in just a little bit of yellow if you wanted to. If you just want a little bit of maybe a streak of something brighter in there. And I did it side by side and that looks a little silly, so I wouldn't recommend that. So I'm gonna do it in a third spot just to kind of give it a little more different. Okay, now here's where you could spray or you could not spray. You could also turn around. You want to test all your ways. I do like it the way we had it, but just to be sure, the reason I'm not worried about this area down here is because I'm going to add some mountains, and I'm not too worried about that. If it was bothering you, you could always just add some color down there right now. Okay, glad y'all like it darker. Okay, so yeah, again, you could just add some darker paint down here now if you wanted to as a base, but it's not super particular. Okay, let's go back and just add a little bit more of the splatter, only because I have that one giant dot. It looks a little weird just by itself. There we go. Okay, so there we go with the white again. We're just gonna add, so this is a give and take, right? You're gonna do a lot of layers and cover some, and then it looks like you're just wasting your time, but the layers are important on these. It does build what you have, right? Because you saw that I was able to take off some of that color and I had something below it. And so you do want to make sure that you're doing those layers and getting that color there. All right, I'm gonna dry one more time. Oops, sorry about that. So another really cool thing that you can do, if there's parts you don't like, right? Maybe this was too light for you. Maybe this was kind of funky, whatever. You can cover it up. So there's a lot of room to cover your whoopsies or errors or things that you don't maybe love in this. So I'm gonna take my Payne's grayish color again. I do like to go from my pan into my palette. I feel like I have a little bit more control there. I can get the consistency, the consistency that I like, versus just putting it straight onto my paper. It's kind of a personal preference thing, but I really do think I probably shouldn't do it right over my painting. I wouldn't recommend that, but all my painting is practice, so I don't worry about that too much. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to come in here and just start making some mountains. And I'm not going to be super crazy particular about these mountains. I'm just going to rough them in and grab more paint if I need it. It's a pretty thick consistency, kind of if I were to have soy sauce with maybe some wasabi, pretty thick in there. And that's how I do it. So we're just gonna fill this in very loosely. Nothing crazy, nothing fancy. Texture's good. So if your brush skips spots on this line up there, that's fine too. And if you want it to kind of come in a little more, you can heighten these up, heighten these up, higher them up. I don't know the word. My words all disappear when I'm trying to talk in front of a group of people. Oh, okay. Let's rinse our brush. Let's grab whatever brush you use for trees, whatever brush you're comfortable with. Mine tends to be some sort of liner-like brush with a longer tip. But I hear a lot of people love size 4s or size 6s for their trees. It's really what you're comfortable with. It's really you taking all your brushes out and practicing trees with every single one of them. I don't mean 1 or 2 trees. I mean a whole row of trees to see if you can get even a decent feel for your trees with that brush. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick a spot that this is a very dark color, right? So I want it to pop against the contrast. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find a spot that's close to my bright spot, but not too close that it ruins or takes away from the bright, right? So I'm going to maybe start one in that white spot that I have right there. And I'm just going to quickly side to side brush in my tree and get them on there. The faster the better for me. The less I think about trees, the better they turn out. The harder I try to get them how I would like them, the worse. Okay, so there's one tree. Boom, boom, little tree, happy little tree. Now we're going to find another spot for tree. This dark area, that blue black is available as a single pan in the shop. It's called Nocturnal. Ooh, okay. So Laura, I would like another pan of Nocturnal at some point. Just don't let me forget to do that because I would like it in my normal palette. As my stomach is growling, I'm sorry. Hopefully you didn't hear that. Okay, I do 2 trees in odd numbers. So let's add maybe a little tree right in here. Oh, thank you, thank you. Maybe a little tree right in here just to kind of, again, adding these trees closer to these neon bright pops of color is going to help your trees pop, right? If you add it over here in the dark, it's going to be cool because it's in the shadow, but it's not as cool. We'll add a few, okay? We'll add some like just kind of, you know, sitting over here. We'll make them smaller so they push farther back, which is fine because they're also in the dark. So you kind of do want them to push back, right? You don't need these ones to be that, well, I mean, you could make them really big if you wanted to. Okay, so far we have 5 trees. We can put one more right over here. And we'll just kind of do this, add another tree here very quickly, very loosely, nothing crazy, perfect or anything. It's the best way I found to make trees is just kind of letting them imperfectly do their thing and let them suggest that they're trees versus trying to make the perfect tree. And the more trees you paint, the less each tree has to be perfect, right? Because nobody's no longer looking at the one tree. They're seeing all of the trees together and they're seeing them as a group versus, you know, as an individual tree. Now, if you were painting a solo tree, then of course you'd want to have that tree be pretty darn perfect, right? 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8. Let's just do one more because I'm running out of time here. And I've gone over the time that I said I would go. And I still need to get some stars in this sky. We're just gonna add, there we go. Do you think I need more trees or is that good? Should I stop at the trees? Anybody vote more trees? 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got 9. I could do 2 more. I could do a little one like back here. If I do one though, I've got to do another. So we'll just stick one right here. A little tree, and then we'll stick one more little tree right here. And I think then we'll call the trees kaput. Done. Donezo. And again, I'm just trying to be quick about them without overthinking it. Yeah, it's a really good pains. Thank you for making that, Laura. I'm really glad that that pains color worked out because I don't have a handmade pains from anybody. I don't know, can we call it a pains? Or are we technically not supposed to? That's a good question. I have a question. There's not, like, names aren't, I don't know. Can you mix and call it pains, or does pains have to be very specific when you call it something? I need to make one. Okay. Because this isn't technically a dead set pains, right? This is just we're improvising. Sorry, very thirsty. Okay, let me go ahead and dry this bottom layer real quick. Okay, dried enough. I give names to what it looks closest to. Right, same. That's kind of why I was like, oh, I'm going to call it Payne's right now. Every paint company seems to have a version of Payne's Gray. They do, except for handmade paint makers don't as much. It's very strange. There's certain colors I feel, and that's one of them. So I'm going to show you up close. So if you don't mix your colors evenly, which I don't, I'm not a big, huge stickler for that. I know you can't see it, but it's darker here and it's lighter here, which just means I got more pigment there and I got less pigment here. So if you want to, yay, okay. If you're particular about that, but I like the different levels of lightness. I think it adds. I wasn't particularly super careful on that, so you could be more careful if you wanted to have it be a little less all black, right? Because I guess there could be, but the odds are it's not going to be all one color, except if it's really dark. Maybe it is, so maybe you do want it really dark, but just something to be aware of if it's something that you're particular about. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab a piece of paper. We're gonna cover up our darkest spots. Sorry, I got hiccups over here. We're gonna cover up my paint palette because this white likes to go everywhere and I don't like it to do that. So what I do is I take my bleed proof, if you don't know, get some water in there because once you're halfway through with this sucker, it does tend to dry out. When you first get it, it's really, really creamy and nice. But after a year or 2 or 3 or however long I've had this, it does tend to get a little drier. So you're going to want to add water to it. You're going to want to keep it pretty thick, not too thin. If you get it too thin, your stars won't stay. They'll just kind of fade away, which if that's what you like, that can work out for you. But if you want good, strong stars, then you're going to want to use it as thick as you can get it to splatter. This is a size 4 brush. I do like my splatters to be pretty fine, but if you wanted them thicker, you can go up to a size 6 or a size 8, or even a mop brush that has a bigger belly. You just want to be careful about splattering too much water onto your painting. So again, what I'm doing when you're not seeing me off camera, I'm just rolling my brush around on a piece of cloth to get all the extra off. I don't want that extra water splattering in my paint. And it's better with stars to go slower versus just getting too much at one point and splattering on. So you want to just kind of build up that star layer again versus, too much. And if you wanted a bigger star, say you're just like, I just want some big stars, you can just go in and every once in a while in the darker areas, you can just, darken. You probably can't see that from here, but you can just darken up a spot if that was your thing, and that's fine to do too. I do like the randomness of splatters. So for me, going in and making stars doesn't necessarily work. And if it bothers you, just blot it off with your finger if you think it's too perfect. And that works too. Okay, so that got really dark, didn't it? I don't know. What do you think? It's so dark. Let me stand up and see. Yeah, let me show you yesterday's compared to today's. I think I have it right here. Yeah. So this is yesterday's. This is the first try with Laura's. And this is going to be the second. So you can see a big difference, I feel. This one, I definitely got more light. I retained more light. The dark really makes it pop, right? And there's more dark. So if you wanted to use more dark along the bottom, I feel maybe if I brought this skyline, not her skyline, but this ridge line up more, I would have condensed my light and it might have been better. So there's lots of different options and lots of different ways to play, I feel, with these. And these neons are really fun. They're kind of a easier way to approach, an easier way to approach, maybe a user-friendly, maybe that's what I should say, a more user-friendly way to approach northern lights, because you already kind of have the colors built in. Usually I mix these colors, so I will sometimes mix the yellow from like a lemon yellow and a phthalo green, but I like the chunks on yesterday's. I know, I rarely do those. So what Madeline's saying, if you missed it, I made trunks on these. I rarely ever do that. So it's kind of fun to have the light peeking away. I didn't do it on these ones because I wanted to push these ones back more. And so these ones, I did have trunks, and it's something I don't usually do, but I decided to give it a try. So a lot of different ways you can play, but that's also the fun part about watching someone else do it. You can learn what you like and what you prefer and what you want to try, right? And so now maybe I just saved you the hassle of trying something yourself. Okay, let me see if I can use the back. Woohoo! We did not get paint on the back. So these are kind of messy. Paint does get under the tape. No big deal. It'll dry. My edges are not perfect, and that's okay too. If you were technically framing this, with a mat, it would all get covered up with your mat board anyway. So I wouldn't stress over your tape leaking. I don't think it's a big deal. I know some people are really crazy about it, but for me, I don't know. It just doesn't really matter anymore at all. In the beginning, I would probably be like, no, no, my tape bled. It's a bad thing. But yeah, no, it doesn't matter. All right. Well, thanks for joining. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate Laura for making these neons. I did link the set in the description, so if you wanted to grab the set, it's linked there. And if you have any questions about anything else, you can definitely ask me in the chat, and I will see you next time. All right, thanks. Bye.